بعد از عمری مجاهدت حسینی و دائمی و خستگی ناپذیر، روح بلند و ملکوتی کوه نستوه ولایت، پدر مهربان امت، رهبر و امام مسلمین حضرت آیت الله العظما سید علی حسینی خامنه ای در راه سربلندی حرم جمهوری اسلامی ایران شهد گوارای شهادت را نوشیدند و به ملکوت اعلی پیوستند. پدر مهربان امت، رهبر و امام مسلمین حضرت آیت الله العظما سید علی حسینی.
هیچ بعدی از شخصیت آقا رو نمیشه با چند دقیقه مطرح کرد. منتها من دو کلمه بیشتر با مردم عزیزمون دارم. اگرچه این زایه بسیار جانکاهه، ولی مردم عزیزمان باید مطمئن باشند که هیچ خللی در طی راه روشن امامین انقلاب پیش نخواهد اومد. مدیریت رو با تمام وجود حفظ کردن، توکل و توسل و بدون هیچ تزلزلی در تدابیر و خود، در مدیریت و خود. وقتی من خدمت ایشان رسیدم با یک روحیه‌ای داشتم با عنوان کسی که باید این مدت رو مدیریت میکرد و این فاجعه شهادت شهید رئیسی وضعیت عواطفی ما را فوق العاده متأثر کرده بود.
In grief, they dance, celebrating the life of those they've lost. This is how Iranians are defying their ruthless clerical regime.
El pueblo iraní se posicionó de años con el pueblo iraní.
I'm not going to shed any tears over the death of the supreme leader, obviously. This individual in the leadership of Iran has killed tens of thousands of their own people. Look what happened today. They shot ballistic missiles into Israel, to the UAE, to Saudi Arabia, to Kuwait. This is a regime that has been out of control for many, many, many years. So the question for us, all of us to ask, is then what comes next? And I think you've had a lot of guests on today who talk about this idea of regime change. You know, sadly, I've been involved in having worked in several administrations. We don't have a great track record here. You know, I remind you, you covered it, Iraq, Afghanistan, Libya. Regime change has to come from the bottom up, not from the top down. So this is the beginning, and the American people need to understand this is the beginning of a very, very long process, and we've yet to see how this all plays out.
I think the hope on the American and the Israeli side is that the killing of the supreme leader, the impact it will have on the military side is essentially that the regime as a whole moves much closer towards collapse and a regime implosion, and that will then have an implication for the military performance. It's not that the supreme leader himself was the ultimate decision maker on tactical and strategic decisions at this point, but rather that it will be a critical move towards imploding the regime. Incidentally, it's also been the Israelis that have very much pushed for this, believing that by killing the supreme leader, they also kill an era of 47 years in which this Islamic Republic has been in place. Even if the republic or the theocracy survives, the symbolism of Khamenei being assassinated is something that the Israelis have argued is very, very important. Well, it certainly has been the case in other places that by taking out critical leaders within an organization or within a system, you have been able to, at a minimum, defang it and paralyze it. The difference, of course, is that in the case here is we're talking about a state. We're not just talking about an organization. We're not just talking about some apparatus. This is much, much bigger than that. And the remaining elements within that state apparatus will have a continued interest in the system's survival because their own survival is so closely tied to the survival of the theocracy or some variation of it. Now, I think the hope on the side of the United States is either that the population would rise up and see this as an opportunity to get rid of the theocracy altogether, or that it will lead to a scenario in which new elements take over the same system, but that they will be much more amenable to the US than what the system was under the supreme leader. I have to say, though, that I don't find that scenario very likely. And the reason for that is there was a very clear and very attractive deal on the table for Trump, in which he had achieved far more than what the Iranians were willing to offer Obama. He could easily have declared victory. He could have easily said that this victory came as a result of his military threats. Instead, he chose war because it seems like his hope is to actually get regime change, surrender, and humiliation. So the next iteration of leadership that would come from the same security apparatus is, to the best of my assessment, not more inclined to accept that type of a humiliating surrender.
播报新闻是我的日常，必须时刻保持妆容和皮肤的最佳状态。当来到人生中最重要的时刻，也是 KS 逆时奇迹帮助我轻松驾驭，闪闪发光。KS 逆时奇迹活肤露全效精华、精华霜，多达5种 EGF 6大冻龄关键成分，保湿效果让我非常满意，小细纹也不再困扰我。我就是我自己的最佳女主角 ，KS 让我从容自信、光彩动人。我是我人生中的大女主，我的最爱我做主。KS 逆时奇迹系列热卖中，下单请上快点购。透过中天新闻网 App 下单立减50，或输入 CTI 推荐码有额外折扣。